Morning. So, give me 1 second. Let me just check my sound. Okay, we're all good. So, problem is, my computer crashed, died, deleted everything, including some client work that I was working on, and all my settings and everything. So, all my scenes, all my chat. I haven't had time because when you lose everything on a hard drive, turns out, takes time to set up again. So turns out it takes a while, but also it's not priority because, streaming's not my full-time job. I'm sort of, I wish it was. It'd be nice, but, well, I wouldn't say that it would be nice, actually. Given what I've seen lately, I'm not so sure it's kind of a very, very good existence, but I've got a separate stream coming on that. But tell me if the sound is bad or peaks out because, again, I'm doing it all myself. I got to calibrate everything, do everything. Hi, Matt. Chat's a privilege. Anyway, hang on. And also this chat widget looks like shit, but I can only test it when it's live and it's so annoying. Okay, so fucking hell. All right, let me just Let me resize this because I don't like how that fucking... Give me one sec. I really don't like how that looks. But there's not much I can do because you guys, it'll just end up dominating the whole freaking... You just end up writing over my face. Hang on a second. Let me just look at this. This is just something I expected to do, which was to troubleshoot in real time. Sorry. Get over it. Okay, one sec. I haven't got the chat window open. Hang on a sec. Yeah, don't do that. One sec. I actually, on a side note, while I do this, right, it's really funny to see like Twitch streamers, and like one of the reasons why I'm so impressed with people like Hassan, knock it off. I'm trying to do this. So one of the reasons why I'm so impressed with Hassan is that like he hang on. Oh, it must be in the settings here. Hang on a second. One sec. Just give me a sec. It's a fucking pain in the ass. I have to start everything all over again. It's so annoying. You know, and when you don't have producers and you don't have all those things, it's amazing how like these people that make millions of dollars a year and it's like, oh, can you invest in a chat widget, please? That'd be cool. Do some branding. That'd be cool. Like they make millions of dollars and they don't even do like half the shit that I do. Anyway, one sec. Let me just, properties. Let me just change the freaking, let's make it 600. 600 by 400. That should be more bearable. Matt. I'm a very polite person. No, I'm all good. So I'm just messing. Okay, so that should be a little better now. Just let me just get back to main scene. I apologize if you're watching this back and shit, but it's just, you know, give me money and then you won't have to watch this shit. Okay, so now that's better. Okay, now I'll fix the styling. I've got to do all the CSS and everything because, again, look, this is one of those little lessons where you become dependent on, like, you know, cloud. Like I've got all the cloud software. It's like, and one thing is that having a complete backup of a drive is really, really important because, you know, I always used to have Time Machine, but with cloud services, you get lazy. Like you get slack. You go, oh, yeah, you know, it's all my major documents are there. And, but it's the settings, it's your preference, it's all the little terminal hacks, all the little, you know, installing Homebrew, installing Node.js, installing Git, so all the things, all the little system tweaks, all the little terminal tweaks, all the things over the years that you put into your system, you know, your Adobe settings. Thankfully, Creative Cloud backs up all of your actions and stuff now, which is good, but like your whole workflow gets fucked. It's not just the accessing folders. It's your fonts. It's, you know, all of the symlinks or various other advanced things that you've done. The automations, fucking labels, filters, fucking all of the stuff. So yeah, so always get a proper backup of everything because it is one of those things where I think, again, you know better. You know, I know better. I know to get backups, all of that stuff. But I also had a problem where my local install on my computer where I was working on a client project was actually outside of my backup drives. So when the hard drive died and needed to be sort of sorted out, guess what happened? I lost 3 months of work as well, without even thinking. Normally I would have just pushed it, but I was just, you know, because I'm so stretched so thinly and also because I'm really trying to get out of that shit and I'm only doing it because because I need the money. That's why you should become a patron so I don't have to fucking deal with this shit and do client work. I hate it so much. You have no idea how much I hate it. But I'll talk to them about that, about us all being working class. It's related. But I warned you in the description. I warned you that I'd be meandering today and you'll live. Yeah, you know, it's a nice little lesson every so often. The last major big crash that happened to me was 2011. So you get complacent. Right? You just get complacent. And you get to come back to earth very quickly. So that's what I've been, and that plus just sort of deciding that, yes, Matt is a patron. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I don't want to see that there's always that balance between shitting on people who are patrons, because I do know that like the cost of living and all that shit, people are hurting at the moment and all that stuff, and talking about the reality of the situation, which is that, I got to buy things. I got to do things. I got to, my husband supports me for the most part. I do get some freelance work, but the second, here's the trap. This is the working class trap that we're all in, okay? Which is that, there's opportunity cost with everything, which is that in order to do this, okay, it took me 4 years to get the, skills ready. It took me, setting up all of the stuff, setting up the sound, setting up all the things. I have to manually do all of the scenes at the moment because I have to set up Stream Deck and all those things again. I'm using Touch Portal now, but I've got to use those things. Those take time. You got to learn how to use the thing. You got to do the thing. Like people who, you can always tell someone who knows what they're doing and streams versus someone who sort of just picks up an iPhone and just, or TikTok. I think that's one of the things that social media has done is, I can talk about this separately. This is one of those things where it's just the commodification of craft. Like I'm a craftsperson. I will do things from scratch. I will learn how it's made. I will learn how it's built from sort of code level up, the design process, all those things. And if you use something like, say, TikTok, there's so many different components that go into making an interface like that people really have no idea the cost, first of all, for building something like that, the skill, like I've still got, like I said, I've got, I've been making websites for, nearly 30 years. I've been coding in HTML for nearly 30 years, okay? That means I've been doing, like programming for that long, and I still fuck up, and I still, unless you're willing to sort of, I've watched this, all become sort of swallowed whole by this massive borg of commodification and design patterns. It started with design patterns, like early on, where a handful of companies, we started moving away from bespoke code and bespoke animation and bespoke CMS, which is a good thing, to open source. But then open source was taken and co-opted by capitalism. Okay. And it was turned into sort of, commodified stuff. So like people, and then we had, Twitter and Facebook, they started to build their own frameworks. So Bootstrap, if you're a coder, that came from Twitter. That's Twitter's Bootstrap, their framework using their rules, their design patterns, their process, their structure. You're using React. React is from Facebook, right? That's what, because Facebook was initially coded in PHP, right? And over time, it didn't meet the needs, and they had sort of security issues and all those various things, and over time, then you see sort of WordPress and Automatic get sort of slowly co-opted, and then, WordPress become the new Joomla, which I'll talk about some other time, because that's a really interesting part of history, which is when you are trying to build a website, there's three different ways to go about it, which is to go completely bespoke, sort of build off of a CMS with, a sort of custom stack, but also you've got the really, really, really shitty ones, okay, where they will just grab a plugin and a plugin and a plugin and a plugin. And what you'll see, if you're trying to build, this is why my membership website has taken so long, because in order to build what I want to build, I want it to be, I may as well just use Patreon or fucking, okay, stop asking me if I got a Substack. Substack does not have an API. I cannot believe, okay, here's a separate rant. I cannot believe that people who are like against cancel culture and like big tech and all this stuff are pushing a platform that hasn't got an API. So you can't take your shit with you. Like, what the fuck? Like, WordPress is actually, I still think WordPress is still largely the most economical solution if you know what you're doing. But there's this whole ecosystem around it. Again, commodification, everything, it's just a race to the bottom every time. This is why when you have to do some sort of socialist analysis. And I'm going to talk about what it means to do socialist analysis at the very basics, okay? Because I think what I'm noticing, people have pain. People are frustrated. People are feeling alienated, you are feeling desperate, you are feeling despair, you are confused, you are thinking that you are alone in this world. And it's like there are answers for how you feel, there are answers for what's going on. But we've been so, and I'm not saying no one's free of propaganda, okay? No one is. I'm not either, okay? But I try very, very, very hard to get through that stuff and work through it and try to find what's been memory hold and sort of, try to make some sense. And I just assume that everything that I'm reading has a call to action associated with it. Okay. As a marketer, you know that, like, if you're in this business, you know that everything has to have some sort of call to action. And if there is no real financial call to action, it means there's something else that makes you useful. Okay. You need to understand, share, like, subscribe, become a patron, do that. Definitely do that. My call to action is that you will like me, I make you laugh, you believe in me, and you want to help me succeed. Okay. I'm not looking to make fucking money. I don't give a shit. Whatever. So I'm not even reading you, Matt, because I'm just going, it's too distracting. So I'll I am, it's funny. But throughout history, we've seen this, history. What I find fascinating, and this is something, I was watching Eliza Schlesinger on Rogan like last night. And it's so funny, like even someone like Eliza, they still have America brain to an extent, and that's capitalism brain. And this is where I think understanding the basic concepts, and understanding the problem that we've got and how these economic systems are deeply entwined with our psychology, with our spirituality, with, all of these things, okay? It's not just about owning the other team on what the details are, okay? It's not, a lot of this stuff, this is one of Marx's criticisms of ideology, which is that it goes in exactly this fashion, which is that ideology is how you miss the fucking point, okay? Which is that the overall point is that when you have a structure that is for profit, owned by those who are seeking profit, okay, when everything is about exploitation, whether it is exploitation of labor, exploitation of natural resources, exploitation of people, exploitation of, whatever, commodification of everything, okay? You may have heard this term popping up lately, commodification. That can be, right now, my speaking to you is commodified, okay? Me sitting here going, you have this pain, okay? There's an aspect to that has a financial component to it, okay? Which is that you may feel that there's some value in what I have to say, okay? You may think that like in a traditional sense, if I was more of a cunt, basically, I would sit here and I would sell you something that is a product, okay? I would, look at your pain points, figure out what you're in pain for, and try to sell you something that sort of makes you feel better so that you part with your hard-earned cash, okay, that you trade your labor for in order to receive. And, so at every step along the way in the economy, something is commodified. There's a product, okay? Your need for a lift to the airport, commodified, okay? Your need for belonging and safety, commodified. The need for a roof over your head, commodified, okay? Someone profits. That's really, now here's a fun fact. The word capitalism, right, was actually invented by socialists. So this is one of the common misconceptions. Under socialists, there is still a free market. Okay, this is the thing that people just don't seem to get, which is that because of, lifetime and decades of propaganda, okay, for various reasons, including that, socialism is a threat to the church and those various other things. So, evangelicals sort of going off and, because Marxist analysis is somewhat atheist and somewhat, is critical of the church, believes that the church actually perpetuates these sort of Like that famous thing, religion is the opiate of the masses, right? Which is that these things, he also meant that in terms of the broader ideology, but also just, in terms of the reason why you'll find that this is why you should probably ease up a bit. And I should too, because I also underestimate how difficult it is when someone, and again, Marx acknowledged this, right? That that's painful when you sit, and I think some people had a taste of this in the last couple of years. Okay. The last couple of years, I think people got a glimpse of it. I've been aware of it my whole life, okay, because I always, everything, I had roadblocks that, most people don't have. I had fewer than some, but I had a lot more than most, okay. So I had a strong sense of class consciousness growing up. And so I navigated the world. But I think that with the last couple of years, people really started to become aware that there is a them and an us. Now, there's going to be people that exploit that, okay? The elites. It's the elites. That's fascist language when you start talking about the elites and that sort of stuff. So that's how fascism sort of, takes hold, okay? But socialist analysis is different in the sense that it's got the answers that you need, first of all. But it's hard going to understand this stuff. And I think that that's been the big block for me as well, is that the people that talk about this stuff are fucking nerds and boring. And it's like, well, just having simple conversations with people where they'll post something, like something silly. Hang on a sec, let me just turn off because I've got two streets. But, you'll see someone post and they'll go, oh, I hate self-service checkouts. Right? We all hate them. They're dehumanizing. Okay? That was actually, we were on the way home, we were getting McDonald's for the boys on the way back after we went out last weekend. And it was quite funny because, we haven't gone into a McDonald's in ages, and they're all they've got those machines, right? So over time, those machines, they sell salt. Again, over 5 years, you see that, right? And, you'll go in and it's like, okay, over time, there was 1 self-service checkout, 2 self-service checkouts. Oh, quick. McDonald's, order your burger ahead of time. Install our app. Okay, it's convenient, it's quick, jump the queue, all those sorts of, what's in it? Convenient. But then you walk in and it's all machines. And what was actually funny was that machine it just didn't work. It didn't print the receipt. And what was funny was that there were the same number of people behind the counter who didn't know how to fix the machine. And so basically they could have just taken the order, and it's just this sort of weird commodification and this sort of false economy of automation that's not quite working because ultimately things go wrong, and we're seeing that play out a lot. But it was quite funny because he ordered it and it wouldn't print the receipt. So he went, they wouldn't print the receipt. She looked at him going, I don't know what you're talking about. Let me get the manager. And it was like, you could have just did you pay? I don't know. Look it up on that computer in front of you. It was like, it was just, I laughed and it was just funny. It was just a funny, you just go, okay, this is when you're getting old, obviously. It's not like, in my day we fucking had, it's like there's a level of progress that happens in terms of technology, but then there is the sort of the side effect of a lot of this stuff that I think explains a lot of why you feel the way that you feel. Because I think that, again, if you look at that machine, okay, at McDonald's, for example, or self-service checkout, or social media, there's a synthetic interaction that happens, okay? Even if there's people who would go to the shop every day, okay? My grandma was one of those people. She'd go to the shop every day and her social interaction would be to walk to the shop, get her stuff, talk to the checkout chicks. She got me my job at that place because she was so friendly with the manager, okay? And that and again, this on every level, okay? You've got people who drop off your food and you don't talk to them. You've got people who drop off your packages, you don't interact with them. You've got people who are just, all of the feedback that you receive on social media is either crickets, in my case, or mean or cruel or, all of that sort of stuff. Of course you're going to feel isolated. Of course you're going to feel alienated, okay? And all of everything that you see on social media is, especially if you're on things like LinkedIn or at work, and all you've got is Slack, to connect with your colleagues and formally organise social events, okay? Unless you've got a particularly good team, then, you're going to feel that it's going to have a psychological impact on you, okay? That's, isolation affects us in extremely negative ways. And it's not even just about lockdown. It's not about fucking TikTok. It's not about any one thing. It is just about the fact that most of our genuine desire for social interaction is now mediated, commodified. It is a transaction, and someone else is profiting from it, okay? And it is largely synthetic. Remember when you used to ask a friend to take you to the airport? Now you won't ask them to take you to the airport. Mostly because everyone's too busy working fucking 14 hours a day on their fixed salaries for somebody who, doing some bullshit job that doesn't make any sense that they could do in 6 hours, but for some reason they're sitting there for 14. But, you are no longer asking a friend to go to the airport. You're not catching the bus unless you really, are forced to. And when you're in public transport, you've got your fucking headphones in and you've got your phone on. When you're at work, you've got your headphones in and you're on Slack and you've got a sign on your back that says, "Don't fucking talk to me." Then you've got everything. You've got lots and lots of meetings where you just sit and disengage. You're not really getting a lot of social interaction, and that's bad for us. Okay, that's really at the heart of like alienation. It's why you feel the way you feel is because you're commodified, whether you agree with it or not. And if you are commodified, you're working class. I hate to break it to you. So this is why, I've had these conversations over the years with various friends and they go, "Oh, you're not working class, you're middle class." I'm like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Because, technically I am middle class, but theoretically speaking, there's different ways to look at being like middle class, right? And this is the problem where someone goes to university and they think they learn one theory about one thing and think there's not other theories and other angles on it, right? Which is that the universities have been stripped from socialist analysis for a good 20 years to start with. So a lot of it has been, overrun by either economics departments, which is about, your income level, okay, or which, economists, especially in the United States, like the middle class is very much about consumption and very much about upward mobility and, access to tertiary education. Now, obviously in the United States, you don't get access to the middle class through tertiary education. It just doesn't fucking happen because you need the money to go there in the first place. That's happening here as well. I've just withdrawn from university because I've gone, this is terrible. So I'm not paying for this shit. Like, no. People are paying like $4,000 every 6 weeks for someone to not even bother replying to your emails. It's absolutely insane. But anyway, it's not their fault. It's a structural problem. But to be middle class, what does it mean to be middle class? Okay, and I'm using there's a story that I'm using as an example because it is something where doctors in particular, okay, and professionals in particular, seem to think that because they earned their way into sort of an elite job, okay, that they're not working class. And that's not the case. And there is, obviously that, there's a tension there, okay? This is the tension of upward. When people talk about class warfare, okay, this is what they're talking about, which is the conflict between the working class, the middle class, and sort of, the ruling class, so to speak. But you got to understand that the word capitalism came from socialists, okay? It was used in the pejorative to describe those who don't earn anything with their labour. They just have the money, okay? They have the money and they use it to make more money, okay? And basically, when you have capitalism, okay, a market capitalism, okay, versus socialist, or market socialism, okay, and versus market capitalism, they're all different words, okay? But this is what America did, was flood you with bullshit and splitting and splitting and splitting so nobody makes sense. They just, it's like weapon of mass distraction. But this is what you need to know. When you have a base that is based on profit, okay? Base on profit. The base is based on profit. Base, okay. What it does is it creates structures that are there to serve profit and serve those who have money. That's why there's no such thing as meritocracy, okay, really. There's a few that get through, but that's because they're useful. When you talk about the role of the middle class is to pretend that they can become the upper class, and the role of the middle class is to police the working class on behalf of the ruling class, generally, okay? And that's why you'll see these sort of, middle corporate HR, okay? That's why you feel gaslit. It's why you feel gaslit, because you are being gaslit, okay? When you've been gaslit before, you know how it feels, and you are being head fucked, okay, into capitalism. You are feeling dispossessed, commodified, and alienated by a structure that serves the base of the ruling class, capitalism, profit, okay, simply speaking. And I just gave you some theory. You didn't know about that. That's called the base, and that is called the superstructure. I'm trying to explain it in a way because this is the part that people really struggle with because it is so fucking boring, okay? But when you have a base, okay, that is for profit. So your health system, that is for profit, okay, where everything is commodified, everything is a commodity, all your pain is a commodity, your click is a commodity, your attention is a commodity, like I said, your need for, sun is a fucking tan product, your need for exercise is a gym product, everything, your need for, social interaction and connection is commodified and sold to you, and harvested and, sold back to you in the form of like social media advertising. You are a commodity. And this is where I think those people who, again, people just parrot these words. If you're not the customer, you're the product. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean? People parrot these things without actually thinking what it means. Because the way let's look at that. If you're not the customer, you are the product. But no one goes beyond that and goes, all right, so who is the customer then? Because there is a customer. Because we have a base of capitalism, okay, which is the worship of money, capitalism, okay, versus socialism, which is prioritizing people, the social, versus prioritizing the capitalism, socialism, okay, very baseline. People will derail it with all these fucking stupid theories, okay, quibbling because, again, theory's commodified. We live in a system that is commodified where, your point of differentiation is to be marginally fucking different from Marx or marginally different from the guy before you. Come up with something like surveillance capitalism. It's just capitalism. Fucking hell. Okay. Or, like I said, I was watching Eliza and Joe Rogan where they said something like, oh, the media. I was like, yeah, it's yellow journalism. There's a word for it. You don't need a new thing. It's not new. There's no new concepts. They're not new. This is yellow journalism. If you understand the structure and you understand the base, if you understand the concept of base and superstructure and class politics, a lot of this stuff starts to make sense, okay? And again, there's lots of different ways to look at things, okay? But when people say, if you're not the customer, you're the product, a lot of those people, they say it in a way that emphasizes that capitalism is like physics, that it's just the way things are, okay? But it doesn't have to be that way. They just say it like it's the way things are. So we've internalized this propaganda that this stuff has always been this way. It's the default, okay? And nothing can change and it can't be done differently, okay? These are the rules. This is what economists have done over the years, especially American economists, which is to try to make financial markets into laws, much like physics, like their principles and laws. Some of them are true, okay, some of them are correct, and most of it is based on sort of psychology, okay, and yeah. But a lot of that stuff is complicated too, right? It's all very different. But this is where I think when you see the silos of the disciplines, you go, okay, everyone's played their role. How all of this has been split apart to just enforce capital and enforce capitalism and just keep feeding this beast known as capitalism. But all you need to know is that the base of having to make money, being forced to work 40 hours a week in order to get your basic needs met. And not only that, but those people, the people that benefit are those who have the money, capitalists, right? It has to be for profit, everything. And then you wonder why we're here and why you feel the way you feel. Socialism is the opposite. Now, there's going to be the people that's like, it's funny actually, the talking points. Okay. See, the thing is, one of the things I would love to do is more reaction stuff. Like say, like talking about Bill Burr or talking about these things, and showing these videos. But the problem is that system is so, you're so precarious when it comes to things like copyright strikes. I'm not big enough. I don't have anyone I can call. So playing those videos means that you just, at the moment, you risk getting your channel taken down. So I'm just trying to keep my nose clean. But, once I can pull it all together into, materials and sources, anyway, I'm doing my best. But the, what was I going to say? This is my frustration, which is people just saying these things like they're just given. Okay, like in marketing, in tech. Well, if you're not the customer, you're the product. Okay, well then who's the customer? Who's the customer then? What's the product? Who is the customer at the end of the day? So when you're fighting in the culture wars, okay, who's the customer? What's the call to action? Get through, like I've said this before, steps 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Most people go step 1 and 2. Oh, okay, move on. I've got my dopamine. Let's not think it through. Step 3. What is when you involve yourself in certain like activism online and ally with the far right and all of these things? What are they asking of you? Are you supporting that people vote for? Like I've talked about this with the last election. Are you going to then ask people to vote for the far right? What do they do then? What's their policy positions on certain other things like economics? Okay, let's say you're pro-woman on this one thing. Okay. Knowing that people can pour money into getting you to do whatever the fuck they want with various nudges, okay, what's the next step? What are you asking? Are you trying to get people to vote, like, for the coalition? People who have absolutely systematically destroyed every fucking public institution that we've got so that we are now in a, very precarious position economically at the mercy of United States in the middle of a fucking potential, global war. Okay. And we're vulnerable because this fuckstick is corrupt. Are you going to vote for, so you're saying people should vote for that, are you? Okay. So the next step, okay, so what about people, women in age, watch my Catherine Dees video. But again, it's not about Catherine specifically. It's about, well, she's the one that chose to run, so she's the name I use. But just generally, it's like, okay, well, you're thinking through when someone says, well, if you're not the customer, you're the product. Well, don't you feel good with your slogan? Well, thank you for that. You're very wise. Who is the customer then? What's the next question? Who is the customer? And what is the customer buying? Okay, in the case of the culture wars, they're buying you as a billboard for their shitty ideas. They're buying you as I left the left, not knowing what the left bit actually even is. Okay, you become a poster child. But you charge more if you're going to be a fucking billboard. Jesus Christ. But okay, I'll charge a fortune and still not be a billboard. That's my problem. But this is why doctors are interesting. Because in Australia at the moment, I saw this article. Okay. I'm still getting my scenes together, so I apologize. I have to do everything manually. Oh, wrong screen. We get to see Matt's fucking graffiti on my stream. So this came out. Now, this is what you're going to see here is another interesting little fucking trick. Our national broadcaster, everybody. Famous left-wing, publications. Neoliberal. When you have a base of capitalism and neoliberalism, this is the kind of shit that you end up with. So, doctors are abusing the $28 billion Medicare system, at times putting patients at risk, billing dead people and falsifying patient records, all to boost profits. It's the doctor's fault. I think most Australians believe that doctors are honest people, Margaret Foe said, and I'd like to think most are. But the reality is, anywhere you've got a huge pot of money that's super easy to access, you're going to get bad actors building business models, just taking the money unlawfully. And it's a huge problem in the Medicare system. It's not the doctors. Doctors are workers. Doctors are commodified. Doctors work under capitalism. And this wound me up something chronic, because here's another interesting trick that they did, right? So they posted it this way. Doctors are abusing the... Then you click on it here. See, it was first called inappropriate Medicare billing occurring in all areas of health sector, expert says. Okay? Now, people were pretty pissed at this. I've got friends who are doctors and that's bullshit, right? Expert estimates $8 billion a year lost to Medicare fraud and waste. See? They change it. They see what they can get away with, and then they adjust and adjust and adjust, right? Posted at 4 a.m., updated at 9:25 a.m., new headline. And this is a good trick for you. Okay, look. You can actually see in the... Oh, no, they've done... Sorry, don't look at my fucking shit. I don't know if there's anything embarrassing there. Nah. Look. So you look at a good way to check if they changed the article is, first of all, go to the Internet Archive, but you can also, oh no, they didn't do this. They've got a different naming convention now. But sometimes I noticed this with a person who had a boat accident, daughter of a famous billionaire here. And there was a thing in the Telegraph, but the URL basically had her dead and originally killed, and then the headline changed. So it's like they remember to save your slugs, everybody. Save your URLs. That's really funny. Anyway, your permalinks, people. Your permalinks, give it away. So anyway, but look at this. So you want to see how, and this is something that I've had fights with my friends over the years, and they go, well, you're middle class because you've got a degree. Well, no, first of all, that's one definition of middle class, okay? There's several different factors that go into someone being middle class. And I just come from a different theoretical thing, which is that if you don't have power over your own, if you don't have autonomy and don't own your labour and don't freely, put that labour in at a rate that you believe is the appropriate rate, and you sell it back and all of that sort of stuff, you're working class, okay? So anyway, doctors are abusing the $28 billion Medicare system, right? Now, you need to, okay, so for this to work, I think I'm not going to go too much into this because it is a uniquely Australian system, but it's, not dissimilar from the NHS or whatever, but we've got a very weird system where doctors aren't employees of the government. What they are is it started out well it started out with good intentions in the sense that it was doctors were sort of, their own business. They could, have their own practice. They were sort of sole traders of sorts, right? And what they would do is they would bill the government and get rebates back, for seeing people, like bulk billing, right? So you'd get to see a doctor for free. Over time, that rate has been frozen. And people have had to pay gaps. Some don't bulk bill at all. Now you've got to pay like $80, $90 up front, and you get about $30 back, which is, if you got 3 kids and 3 appointments, and they get sick, you're fucked. Okay. So fewer and fewer doctors are bulk billing. Now you've also got the problem of doctors are largely in the state system, but the funding comes from the federal. Okay, so Medicare is a federal program, but it is run by the states. So healthcare is, so we've got in our federal system, much like the US, the default is sort of things are run by the states, but the Commonwealth, because of Medicare and their health insurance policies and all those sorts of things, that's funded by the Commonwealth. So what, a rich state like WA, this is one of the confusions I think that a lot of people have with WA, especially because we're a very rich, we're one of the richest states in the country, right? And we obviously subsidise a lot of the, so we through our, GST and all those sorts of things, we pay the federal government. They then allocate it back throughout the states for various things like healthcare, university education and those sorts of things. But those are, it's very complicated. You've got to look up something called tied grants, but you can't just allocate, there's all these people, fucking idiots, who are going, oh, you shouldn't be building a statue or renovating that building. You got to fucking hospitals. It doesn't work that way. It's federal government. We've had a change of government. These things take time. You've got to wait for the new budget. There's a process to follow, and it's a federal government thing, not a state government thing. Now, they could find more money for the hospitals here. They could. They very much could. But there's only so much that, it's one of those things that's very, very, it's political in the sense that, the state and federal. I've been caught up in those sorts of projects before. When I was young graduate and I worked on a couple of essential services projects, like as on contracts and stuff before I moved out of that, a lot of these things were caught up with state and federal trying to get their shit together, cross department, trying to get signatures, trying to get meetings, trying to get, sign off, trying to get there's lots of moving parts to having, getting things funded and projects kicking off, and, they get stalled at every part of the process, right? My computer's giving me fucking nope signals. Hopefully that's, all right, okay. Anyway, so I need a new fucking computer. Anyway, become a patron. If Tim Cook could become a patron, that would be very nice. No. Okay, so what happened? So that's the difference, and I think that's the thing where people, again, coming back to basics. When you say we are all working class, if you are at the mercy of somebody else for your livelihood, okay, as in if you don't work and they decide that they don't want to pay you, okay, and you can't withstand that, guess what? You're working class, generally, okay? Now, what do we mean by middle class? Now, middle class depends. Like I said, economists will use the numbers. So they'll go with, the median income or, like indicators, economic indicators like, home ownership or, income level, that sort of stuff. In sociology, they'll use like education, cultural factors. So, say going to university education, kind of media you read, various sorts of things, there's so many different perspectives. Some people would argue that middle class is just a fucking worldview. LinkedIn, middle class, firmly middle class, okay? It's a worldview of consumption, okay? Keeping up with the Joneses, upward mobility, okay? Striving, merit, thinking that you're in the club when you're not. That's why I say I'm working class, even though by most indicators I'd be, I'm middle class, okay? Because even though I grew up working class and I grew up sort of, poor, I got a university education and I'm in the profession and I'm networked and, I have that kind of, I do have a middle class lifestyle, okay? That said, I reject that in the sense that I also know that the middle class to an extent is that structure, okay, that I was talking about before. So under capitalism, okay, the middle class does the job of pretending. This is why, this idea of the sort of the vulgar working class, right? Where people, this is another thing, very middle class approach to things. Actually, no, they don't make stuff up. So Jim Pixo, hello. So economists don't make stuff up. I mean, there's a lot of economics is, well, this is the problem, okay, which is that there's interests that co-opt every discipline. But when you know how these things converged, diverged and then, they were initially sort of economics, philosophy, psychology, political science, psychology, all those, sorry, I already said psychology, but those things, they all kind of fit within that same, even science, like you got philosophy of science and those things. The idea, like the traditional thinkers, they weren't one thing. They understood that these things were related to each other. Like the discipline of sociology is a new one, and it started in America because they needed to segment sociology out from political science, and they needed to create a new fucking niche. What am I, a YouTuber? Create a niche. It's called sociology. And then within sociology, we'll make more and more niches, and then more and more value propositions, and then we'll fucking lose the point, which is that this whole system is for profit when it should be more focused around people. Okay? And the irony of that is because, this is why I started out going, well, the internet, okay, I can actually be human-centered. Okay, I can focus on people. Started to train as a psychologist where they were talking about people-centered care. And I went, that's a load of shit. You're lying. It's just branding. It's not. You don't care about people. If you cared about people, you wouldn't be doing this. So that's why I decided to quit. I went, this is too much. Too much shit. Too much. This is just another oppressive fucking load of shit. So anyway, that's a whole other story. But you got to understand that they don't just make stuff up. But what they've done is they cherry pick. They cherry pick stuff that should be easy. It should actually be easy for you to understand because you feel it. You understand what it feels like to be worried, to go, okay, like I feel guilty. I don't know about you, but I feel as guilty as fuck. Like if we order Uber Eats and I'm just like, I don't want to answer the door. I don't want to talk to anyone. But I feel like there's a part of me that's like, this shouldn't be a thing. Like, I want to talk to people. And also, like, I have people who will, because I talk to people, but people who act offended when you say hello or when and it's like, wow, goodness me, no wonder everyone feels so shit. But anyway, but this, one of those things that's like what makes you middle class is very much this idea that is this cringe about things that you associate with the, being the working class. And that's why I've got more time for a fucking Aussie bogan than any like middle class, like Ivy League, like person on Twitter. Fucking bogans are great. It's why I talk the way I talk, because it annoys them and there's a cringy aspect to it. Okay. But also, this thing about swearing, all those things that are vulgar, okay? Vulgar working class, okay? Which is that we don't do this. This is all just a big fucking cope for the middle class to not have to accept that they're working class. Okay. So, yes. Anyway. Thanks, Matt, for your productive chats. It's very, very useful. I'm not sure if your mission is to ruin my streams or like fuck up my brain, but it's working. So anyway, no, it's all good. I don't know how people like manage these chat things. Like you can't, like more than a handful is just, you can't do it. That's why I like, I was saying that before actually, why I like Hassan is because he can just read that shit. And I was just like, I've got an ADD brain and I can process things pretty fast. He's like a mirror. You watch him interact with his chat and I'm going, how do you even like begin to interact with that? Just fucking, I was like, okay, yeah, no. So it's all good. So this is why, and again, I'm not making necessarily an argument for this because, I've said that before that the streams are just where I talk. Okay. Where I come up with ideas. It's not necessarily the fully formed, finished thing. But I want you to know that there are words for how you feel. There are reasons for why you feel the way you feel. But also the reason that you might reject is think about what you take for granted, like these truisms. Like if you're not the customer, you're the product. Okay. Why? All right. Why? How are you going to pay for the fucking healthcare system? And okay, well, how does it work now? What's the policy history? What's the next step? Think it through. What happened? How can we fix it? Where's the profit? Where can we shuffle that profit? What policies can we put in place? Who can we vote for? What can I do on a daily basis? And this is why I fucking quit tech, because there's nothing I can do on a daily basis that's going to make this any less evil. This is like working for big tobacco at this point. They have no will to change. Obviously, I'm still going to try. I'm still going to try to pitch my outreach. I'm still going to try to pitch things. I'm always going to try. However, part of the reason why I stopped doing all this stuff is because I just can't live with it anymore. It's evil. What it's doing to people, what it's doing to us. Again, you can't. You can be a socialist within the system, but it is still impossible. You have to be and this is another thing where people are just, socialism is like free shit. It's not. Don't be stupid. That is the stupidest take you could ever fucking have. It is not even true. You're just an idiot at that point. Okay? How are you going to pay for things? I don't know. Reshuffle the economy and reshuffle your priorities away from the 1%. That's how you pay for things. It's so that you make everything break even, not for profit. And anything you're a socialist and you still got your iPhone. You'd still have an iPhone. Do you know what would happen? All of the public research, the university studies, the publicly funded research that's gone into Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, the screens, all of the fucking universities, all of the people at MIT that do all of these research, all of that stuff is publicly funded, and they do it and they innovate anyway because it's cool. Okay? And they innovate because they want to, and they do what they love because everyone is doing what they love. And those who are doing what they don't want to do in order to live because, it needs to be done, like, say, nursing, teaching, cleaning up shit. It's not like everyone just leaves the shit. Guess what happens under a socialist system? The people who do the jobs that no one wants to do get paid more. They get paid in line with their value in the market. This is the Labour theory of value. It's a whole other thing. It's about the surplus. You got to understand. Okay, I'm not going to go into fucking surplus and stuff, but you got to understand that it's not a problem. There is a market. The first thing you need to understand is that when you understand socialism versus capitalism, it's not. They've been contrasted as worldviews and priorities and the base. So when you base your economy on profit for private property and profit for individuals who already have the assets, that tends to accumulate in a way where people end up exploited, they end up alienated, and everything ends up commodified. That's all you need to know. That's what socialists said happens under capitalism. Okay? Much like if you're a Catholic and you're a little boy and you're in the church, you're going to get bummed. It just happens. Cool. I did that. That came out. You are being exploited. There's still doctors. There's still designers. There's still engineers. There's still social media companies. There's still governments. There's still fucking this. Okay? There's still iPhones. There's still pens. There's still monitors. There's still fucking food. There's all of these things. It's just a reorganizing of the economy so those that do the work get the fucking money for the work and get paid fairly. And they own their own labour and can negotiate fairly within the market. Okay? That is socialism. It's not you, and you are working class. Because if you are in a job, okay, and you are paid for your time by a private company and government as well, because governments have to be profitable as well now, okay? That's austerity across the board, right? If you work for someone, they make more than you earn. That surplus, okay, makes you working class. You get it? Now, middle class. You know, doctors, you're still employed by a hospital. You're still at the mercy of bureaucrats. You're still at the mercy of the government. Like you might get perks. You might be told that you're better than everyone else because you had to work hard. And, under socialism, there might be actually more doctors because more people could actually just pursue it because the economic conditions are more supportive of somebody who can invest the time and discipline that it takes to become a doctor. Okay. It's not a profit. There's no for-profit university. Don't need to churn them out. We just need people who care about people to fix people and who love science. You think science goes away? You think people, and I think this is that difference between, that sort of intrinsic motivation and extrinsic. Most people are motivated external, right, by money, need, desperation, love and belonging, all of that sort of stuff. But socialism allows for more internal. Okay, I'm someone who's strongly internal. I don't tend to get more. I tend to be like not really one who has. It has to be my own idea for it to for me to be on board with it. But I tend to be more on that camp than other people. But at the same time, like I would still not. I'm not lazy. I would still do what I do, regardless of money. Like I'm one of those people that money doesn't really factor into my decisions. Socialism means that if you can have a roof over your head, you can afford to live, you can trade a fair amount of money for what you put back into the market. If you don't want to work, that's fine, but you shouldn't starve and be out on the street. You shouldn't suffer. You should just, that's just being a decent human, is knowing that your fellow man is okay regardless of their choices. Doesn't mean they have to live in fucking luxury, but you need to make sure that everyone has their basic needs met, especially with like automation and stuff now. It's only a matter of time before everybody, it's like, well, like if I had unlimited money and money wasn't a thing, I'd do pretty much the same thing now, except I'd drop clients and have more time to develop this skill, write more, do more innovation work, more tech, like create more cool shit. Paul would be like building more cool shit. I mean, he already does, but, I'm just saying people would just do what they want to do and find value. That, if anything, socialism is a more free market because you are actually, there's no illusion or coercion involved in your choice. You don't have to go and pretend that corporate HR is a thing other than being the fucking police for like corporate America. And they're fucking, no matter how many fucking lipsticks you put on it and how many pairs of shoes you buy in order to, soothe the pain that you're a terrible human being and you think you're helping people when you're actually oppressing them, fair enough. If you think that's a thing, go for it. But it's not. I don't think, that's what I love these people like, oh, recruitment's my passion. No, it's not. Well, fuck off it is. Oh, this is my passion. Oh, yeah, all these job ads on LinkedIn. Oh, this low-level fucking entry-level admin task, you have to love this. It has to be, it's not just enough that you've got to do it and you need money to live. You have to pretend to love it too. Like it's almost, capitalism not only has profit built into it, but it has an element of humiliation, gaslighting, and fetishization of pain built into it. It's actually, it's quite sadistic. When you actually look at the psychology of, again, if you're not the product, if you're not the customer, you're the product. Okay, thanks for that, nothing burger. Who's the customer then? Are you? Is it your boss that's the customer? No, your boss is also, is it them? No. Even Mark Zuckerberg is probably not really the customer. Mark Zuckerberg is over a barrel with VCs and always has been. It's the capital. It's the 5 fucking companies and hedge funds and all these fucks. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is, but again, I'm saying tech founders, they think they're going to be one of the 1%, but they're not. They do the bidding of the 1% in the hope that they'll get invited in and then go, oh no, fuck the poors. Fuck those poor people. They're icky. How dare they be impolite? And they're just tools anyway. They're just tools. They're not. Let's just dehumanize them and alienate them and we just pretend and synthesize these social relationships and make it so that they feel fucking desperate and lonely and suicidal and attack their neighbors and what we can do is nudge them so that nobody understands what the fuck is going on. And what we'll do is, we'll just profit from that at every fucking step of the way. And then what we'll do is we'll get the fucking government broadcaster to write a piece about how doctors are rotting the fucking system, not the health insurance company, the admin, the fucking, the bureaucrats in the middle, fucking Serco who like serve slop to fucking aged care because of the profit, not the fucking, the recruitment agencies for like exploited overseas nurses to work fucking like, 12-hour shifts for fuck all money in order to keep their visa. No, that's not blame. No. It's definitely the doctors and the nurses because it's the doctors that did it. Even when it was the bears, I knew it was the doctors. Even when it was the bears, I knew it was them. But no, yeah. So Rebecca said, you mean if we support socialism, we aren't all going to live on an organic farm with no buttons, with a guitar singing Kumbaya? No, it's just, and this is the shift in thinking that most people need to have, which is that to be a socialist means to be human-centered. If you're a fucking person calling yourself a human-centered designer and you're not a socialist, then you're a fucking liar and no. It means to be human-centered in everything that you do for the benefit of humans, not just the benefit of your favorite humans, but the benefit of all humans, including the fucking humans you don't like. That's human-centered fucking thinking. Otherwise, you're fucking 1% centered, you're algorithm centered, you are corporate centered, and you can fuck off. And that's why I had to quit, because I was calling myself a human-centered designer. I am a human-centered designer and always have been. And I can't be in that system because they're all lying. They don't give a fuck about you. Right? And this is the problem with profit. I don't like talking about these things because when we're talking about commodification, this is the dilemma that we've got. Kanye, okay? There's a streamer called Amaranth, and she has an OnlyFans. She's incredibly successful, okay? Millions of fucking dollars, right? As a streamer, Twitch streamer, OnlyFans, that sort of stuff. Came out this week that she was being horrifically exploited by her partner. Okay. He caught her on stream. Again, the problem is, and this is the dilemma that we've got. This is the great irony of what I'm trying to do, and it makes it extremely difficult because in order to do the work I want to do, you need to make the money, which means you need to do the thing that's the opposite of the thing that you want to do. It's in direct conflict, which is in order to get viewers or in order to talk about these issues, including commodification and alienation, I need to further commodify a person who is being exploited and talk about the issue, because no one will watch unless I mention her name or talk about the case or talk about these things. And that is the dehumanizing aspect of all of this stuff. So I want to acknowledge that there's a young woman here who is a person, okay? And I want to acknowledge that there is a young woman here, and I'm trying to not talk about the details of the case because I think that's where the line is, which is that, like I said earlier with the, React videos and stuff, by using people, you're using people in effectively the same way that you're criticizing, and you look like a fucking hypocrite. If you're actually thinking this through, you look like a hypocrite. Like for me to, well, first of all, copyright strikes. So if I was to make fun of people like Tim Pool and like people like that, they use copyright strikes and stuff to get to get it taken down. And I just, can't withstand that, right? I don't have the resources to withstand that stuff. I don't legal anything. So it's off the table. But also, to show the sorts of things that I want to talk about, like this harrowing call that appeared on a stream. And everyone's, you can look it up, amaranth, as in like amour-anth, okay? Amaranth, but Amouranth. Hassan's talking about it, others are talking about it. I just don't want to, because also when you understand what it's like to be in that situation, again, because I went viral before, and how dehumanizing it is, okay? And especially because she's a sex worker. I was tremendously fucking angry at the response, especially of people who I follow, like, whatever, who they're like, oh, this idea that because you have commodified her and dehumanized her, it was just so fucking dehumanizing, which is that she was being not only exploited by this partner who was abusive and coercing her into streams for 24 hours a day, right? All of this sort of stuff. Again, the incentives are in place to do the wrong thing. This is on tech. Tech need to get their fucking shit together and start supporting users, not being human-centered designers, okay, having a process in place that provides emotional support for these people and outreach for users, and fucking, it's just not acceptable to keep doing this. This is psychopathic. This is where it ends. It ends badly, and it is getting worse. Okay? It's just, there's a cop-out. And anyone who works for tech needs to understand that this is a cop-out. If you're not making this your fight, then I understand why, because we're all working class, we're all trying to get by, we're all trying to live, we're all trying to pay our bills. But if you have any kind of power or influence internally in these things, then it needs to be more in your like area of attention about what is happening on the ground with just, we won't pay any tax. We won't provide any support. We won't provide, any ability. We'll have an algorithm take care of all of it. And if it's not an algorithm, it's someone offshore who doesn't, who's just oppressed and abused as well and exploited, okay, to enforce rules. And they wouldn't dare have a fucking critical thought about the process or the rules because they're trying to survive as well. They won't they won't put in place any kind of community outreach. They will work with the fucking CIA and law enforcement at the top level because, that's convenient. But at the same time, they'll talk about fucking disinformation, but they won't actually help anybody. They won't help anybody who needs help. And when you're making money off of somebody's data and somebody's stories and somebody's livelihood, and you are providing them with a service, you have a duty of care to make sure that you are fucking looking after them. You don't just wash your hands and go, call Lifeline then. You try BetterHelp? Funded by the same VCs. Oh, fucking better. Get fucked. It's a cop-out, absolute cop-out, what is happening, which is that there is no real, I don't know whether there's a clear process for somebody who, so the thing with the streamer who was abused was that her partner, had access to all of her accounts. So he was a manager. So basically he had all of her 2FA, all of her like logins, all of her Twitter account. He had the ability and the power to nuke her at any moment. Okay. He was like, whether it was a threat or not, we don't know, but he was basically texting her abuse saying blah, 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 or I'm just going to put money into crypto and like burn all the money. I'm going to give it away, blah, 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 and just tormenting this poor woman. And she just happened to be live on stream and, these guys can never help. It always comes out eventually, eventually they overreach and, everyone becomes aware of what's going on. But there's no process. She can't call anybody and go, I want my accounts, please. This guy is abusing me. There's no mechanism for anyone to do this stuff. There is nobody there to help you. And that's a cop-out when it comes to tech. We're all working class as long as that exists because we exist at the mercy of all of these four companies, okay? And it's just not right. It's just not right. And there's going to be these guys that just, and that was the thing that disappointed me the most was these, but because she's a sex worker. They were more upset that they found out she was in a relationship. First of all, fellas, just because you give someone a few bucks doesn't mean you owe them, okay? My top tier is $1.5 million a month on Patreon, and that's just to shut me up. That's not to own me. Okay? And even then, I won't shut up. It's a joke. It'd be nice if I got $1.5 million a month. Come on then, work on that. If you do that, that's how you prove you're not working class. Is that right? But there's going to be those people that dehumanize, especially online. Okay, this is, it's just part of being commodified. But, think it through. Like, people just aren't thinking. You're just reacting. You're in your lizard brains all the time. But think it through. Like these guys that were just like, oh, well, that's what you get for being a sex worker. Who are you? What's wrong with you for thinking that? It's not political. I'm not going to give you a political argument on this. I'm not going to justify anything other than I'm deeply sad that you feel so destroyed by these structures and this system, right? Thank you. I'll talk to you in a second. But you are so destroyed by these structures that you can see what I saw, which was a young woman sobbing from abuse on a stream. And your first instinct is to do that. I don't understand it. It's just, where's your humanity? And that's not a manipulation. I'm not using, see, this is the problem now, which is that this whole culture wars thing has created an us and them, which is where, for me to appeal to your empathy means that I'm somehow trying to manipulate you. I'm not. I'm trying to get you to reflect. And I'm trying to get you to say, why? Like, again, past the first step, why do you feel such anger towards a person? Why do you feel the need to dehumanize somebody in this way? Why do you feel like you can own another person? Why do you feel, again, there's all the research, all the parasocial shit, right? This is all theory shit that I can write down at some point. I know fucking boring stuff, but I'm trying to get you to think, okay? There's too many people telling you what to think. I'm trying to get you to think and start thinking and go, okay, step 1, I feel this way. Step 2, why do I feel this way? What's really going on? Step 3, this person. Okay, do an exercise. Every time you fucking get your rocks off, or your dopamine and your cortisol flowing, and all your non-effort, those things, all the hormones and shit. Next time you get that rush, where's that coming from? Why do you feel so? Why do you feel that rush when someone else is clearly in front of you suffering? What's going on between person suffering? Like, I can't really watch TV shows. I mean, again, I tend to be more on the sort of, I tend to be affected. I don't like violence. I like video games and shit, and animated shit and all that stuff. But over the top gore, if it's really animated, it's fine. But I can't do things where kids are hurt. I can't, maybe because I've been in that scene, child protection and stuff. It's just a little too real. And I understand that people do it to cope or deflect or to shift sort of, to try to make things feel normal for them. Is that sort of like trying to, recalibrate back to stability, right? There's that homeostatic thing that we need to do where we go, okay, there's this thing that's happened that challenges me. I need to do everything that I can to pull it back to normal. That's how our cognition and how cognitive biases work. Okay, I get that. But what I'm trying to do is get you to bring that to the front and be aware and go, okay, well, I'm in my shitty job that I hate. Why am I judging people for hating their shitty jobs? Who is the customer? Who's the customer? Who am I serving? Who am I ultimately serving? Don't do the corporate HR fucking thing where you go, I'm serving the people that I oppress. That's not the case. Who are you serving? Really? Who are you keeping the peace for? okay, you might think you're middle class when you think that you're doing a win-win, or you're serving both parties and creating a sort of a situation and, tinkering at the edges of capitalism and, gaslighting people every day about being polite and civil and positive and, be more grateful for what you do have, because if you are grateful, then you'll get more shit. And if you just behave I sit as an example of somebody who did everything that I was told. Everything. I never had a holiday. I didn't spend time with my kids. I went to university. I worked my ass off. Okay. I ran a business. Okay. I played nice. I did my pitch deck after pitch deck. I implemented. I worked hard, and all it did was the capital class just want more and more and more and more and more. And then you get to the age of 40 in my case, or 39 in my case, and you go, it was all a lie. Because it's all conditional on you behaving yourself and not saying these things and pretending that it's okay and pretending that the world is not fucked, pretending that people aren't suffering, pretending and dehumanizing that streamer and thinking that because you give her $5 on OnlyFans that you own her, rather than see a human who is a victim of the worst kind of suffering, and on top of that having to do it in front of millions of you fuckheads every day. Okay? And that's why, streaming is not all it's cracked up to be. Okay? There's, in third world nations, you've got, third world, global south, whatever word you want to use. You've got office buildings, much like, in the early days of the internet, like you'd have these offshoring companies, but the offshoring companies have now become streaming ones, okay? There's people that would have buildings full of virtual assistants or, Fiverr, the Fiverr farms and those sorts of things. They're doing that for streaming as well. But what they're doing is they're putting young women in little cubicles that look like their bedroom, putting on the bunny ears, and they're being forced to stream 24/7 for perverts, okay? And again, I'm not saying that just because you watch a stream, you're a pervert. You get what I'm saying. Okay, these men who dehumanize. Okay, and again, you can, they're playing a role, and that's just commodification. But you just remember that there's people behind this, and really be honest with yourself about why you're doing what you're doing. And for me, I think because I turned around because I nearly died, and I just had a moment where I was like, I haven't done anything that I wanted to do. I wanted to, I'm just spinning my wheels. I'm on this fucking hamster wheel of client bullshit and spot fires and spot fires and spot fires, and then never getting any praise, always in bug fix land, always with problem after problem after problem, next invoice, clients never happy, always fucking moaning, never praising, always complaining, always asking annoying questions, always constantly fucking annoying. And I was like, but hang on a minute, that wasn't what I said when I went into digital, when I moved from politics, and I went, you know what, when I went pro full time, and I was like, I said to my ex-husband, my husband at the time, I said that if this stops being fun, I'll go back to the public service. And I didn't. I made myself miserable. And over the years I coped because I was like, I'm a human-centered designer, I'm user experience. We're serving people. We're not. We're hurting people. And this is where, I'm working on some IP around this stuff. So, this stream is where I form ideas and where early ideas start. And, but this is what happened. And this is why, people think, she's just having a moment. It's like, no, I get it. I'm just further along than the rest of you because I've got 10 years on the internet longer than most people. And so I've already done the cycle. I went viral small. I did all these things early. I went through all this stuff. And then I started, and I went through all this stuff and I went, you know what, I'm actually kind of a shitty person right now. I'm serving the exact forces that I thought I was going to fight. The internet promised us owning our labor. They promised us that autonomy. They promised us, that we would be free. And it was just a carrot that was dangled I call it the credibility carrot, right? Which is that no matter, I twist yourself in knots and knots and knots and the bar, and it's just nudge. You just pulled and pulled and pulled, especially, and obviously when you're a woman and obviously a woman of color, all those things on top of that, there's compounds, right? But if you are working class, and you're working class, unless you're a $1.5 million a month patron, and you won't be because I'm saying this, you're working class. Okay? Because even if you think you're middle class, it means you are serving them. Hug your fellow man. Okay? And that's the thing. It's like, this is the frustration that I've got, is that this division that we've got, these culture wars, right? And everyone plays their part. This stuff's stupid, right? It's fucking ridiculous. I dehumanize Tim Pool all the time. I dehumanize Ben Shapiro all the time. But I also, I'm friends with a few people in that circle. I'm, friends with Bridget, as you know. And like, she's friends with them, and I know, and they are still people, okay? I might not agree with them, and I might find their worldview completely repugnant, but they're still human, and they're still people, and they're still latching. They're still just people in pain trying to, again, my charity runs out after a while. But again, I do try to focus more on the behavior than on, I try to have a baseline of assuming that they're humans. They're just sometimes ridiculous humans. Americans are also human. Oh, I know it's America brain and stuff, but. So Radiation King said, being able to hold a 1 hour monologue is a talent in itself. It's not a talent. It's actually a skill. I started streaming 3.5 years ago, deathly afraid of video. I'd held myself back over the years. I've always been online, and I was writing long form, and I realized that nobody was going to be listening to, that no one's reading long form. No one wants to read my shit. And I was like, fuck, I should have gotten on YouTube early. I didn't. Because I was afraid of video and all that sort of stuff. So I just went, fuck it, because I noticed, if you go back and watch my first video, I should post it actually, about my concerns with things like Brand Yourself, right? Brand Yourself was one of those things where it's an HR tool where you can basically, have a social score based on your social media, and recruiters and stuff use that tool. And I had grave concerns because I was like, well, this isn't really what I signed up for. This is not what I signed up for. This is not what I sold. I sold autonomy, freedom, expression of ideas, strengthening of relationships, not eroding them. Okay. I sold tech as a tool that benefits us and is human-centered, not this shit that farms us. Okay. And that's why, I have, stops and starts. Like this time, because my computer fucking died, I had to have a month, and also just, stuff. I can't prioritize it, right? You understand? If we were in a socialist utopia, I would be streaming full time and doing this all the time, but I'm not. Or writing, probably more than anything else. But we don't. I live in a reality where I got client shit, and I got to pay my bills and make my car payment like everybody else. Okay. But yeah, I then just decided to grind it. So like I do feel that going from basically wanting to vomit and cracking the shits every time I tried to film video to now being able to carry a stream on my own is something I'm proud of. But that said, I have a month break and I start wandering off on tangent doing this. I'm not as organized because it's been a month, but generally speaking, when I stream regularly, like twice a week, I get better. They get better. But it's a muscle. It's like anything. If you're shy and you struggle with that stuff, it is worth it. It's good. Like my son, social anxiety and stuff, and he's a streamer and he does that sort of thing, and it's real. I find it very beneficial, especially if it's not your strength. And the problem with a lot of this stuff on YouTube is that it's been taken over by people. It wasn't supposed to be taken over by people who were already on TV. Wasn't supposed to be taken over by people who would otherwise, with media training. It wouldn't have been, all these fucking journalists, they would have it was taken over by the TV teeth people, and And so, I'm hoping that maybe people wake up, but I'm not sure that they can, because unfortunately there's this whole structure and people don't understand that these things are quite easy to understand. And this is, again, the problem. Well, problem with education in general, and why I told them all to go fuck themselves, is that it's been stripped of all of its original essence, a lot of these ideas, okay? Like the word capitalism was only used as a way of describing a mindset or a set of priorities in the market. There's a market in both situations. You're still trading. It's just that one prioritizes people, human-centered stuff, human-centered design, human-centered policy, okay? And the other centers profit, capital. Those who have capital are the priority. That's all you need to know. Socialism and capitalism at the core. That's all it means. And anybody who, honestly, anybody who is being dishonest about this stuff, they're probably mostly a cope. A lot of it is because they've got jobs that they know are meaningless as well. Or they think that somehow if they just talk down to people like me long enough, or, shit on every working class person long enough, they're the ultimate these finance guys are the ultimate pick-me's, right, of capital. That's why these hustle bros are always a bit sad, right? Yeah, the swear filter is on for a reason. But it's only I may swear. But I think that this is where the shift in thinking needs to be. Okay. Understand that socialism is not fucking hell. I love how they think that people who are like, if you dare prioritize your neighbours being able to eat, suddenly we're all living in sacks. Doesn't that sound ridiculous? This sounds fucking absurd. Caring about people is the antithesis of freedom. Hang on a minute. Do you feel pretty free right now? Do you feel free or do you feel trapped? Socialism sounds to me like you are freed up. You're not just busy spinning your wheels trying to survive and trying to eat and trying to keep a roof over your head. Okay? And try to stay alive and have good health, or get exercise, or spend time with your kids. That's taken care of. What else are you going to do next? I think that maybe, and that's again why I think a lot of intelligent people or people who are curious are not threatened by socialism. And I'm not saying smart people are socialists, but I'm saying there's a predisposition there, which is that if you are a certain curious or open or adventurous type of person, you're more open to socialism because the possibilities are there for you to do all the things that you want to do. If you're closed-minded and, like oppressing others and authoritarian and, lazy, then you're going to love capitalism, because especially you're going to love capitalism if you're lazy and got money, because you can just, day trade, buy houses and force other people to starve. You could just shuffle papers around and, tell people that need surgeries that they got to wait 6 months and it's nothing you can do. And God forbid, please don't swear, ma'am. Tap the sign. Rudeness will not be tolerated, even though you are sitting there gaslighting somebody who's suffering. Because it's the rules. Who's the customer? Who's your customer? I think you know who your customer is. And it's not the people in front of you who are suffering asking for your help. And it's the same thing with tech. Who's the customer? It's not the influence. It's not me. It's not you. It's not the influencers. It's their shareholders. And who are their shareholders? Hedge funds, day traders, capital, capitalism. Not fucking hard. Okay. If you are user-centered and you are into human-centered design and you're a capitalist, you're a liar. If you're a human-centered designer and you're a socialist, congratulations, you're a human-centered designer. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to go. I'm going to keep it an hour and a half. I've wandered off, but also understand upper management, okay? this conflict that exists with the middle class. Ask who your customer is. Because doctors are at the front line of that, which is that they're supposed to be serving patients, supposed to be helping people. But that's not their customer. It's not their client. Their client is the mega church fucking GP conglomerates. It's health insurance companies, it's pharmaceutical companies, it is, APRA and their mega bureaucracy of corrupt fucks who gather $100,000 a year to scrutinise to scrutinise you. It's all the politicians who use you as a political fucking, you can, doctors do, again, I'm not a religious person, but doctors do God's fucking work. And you are the ones who are sitting there and scrutinising every fucking cent. They should be paid more. Welcome, doctors. You're the new shit cleaners under capitalism. Under socialism, doctors would be paid appropriately, as would the people who clean up the vomit, as would the nurses, as would the teachers, as would the fucking, Uber Eats drivers, the people who bring you your food. You think that wouldn't exist under capitalism? Of course it does. Socialism, of course it would. Do you know why? Because most of the tech is publicly fucking owned anyway and publicly developed, and they stole it. Again, they took it and went, well, this is what also with open source. They just take the effort and they take the work and they skim off the top. What if they weren't allowed to skim off the top anymore? What if they actually had to create something? The people with the money might be a little less smart than they think. It's easy to nudge numbers on a graph. It's not so easy to actually to save a life. It's not so easy to make fucking cheese. I know that. I've tried to make cheese this week. It's not easy to do certain things. And I think that a lot of the reason why these fucking people sit there and fight this and enforce capitalism is not because they're capitalists. It's because they know that this system is the one where they don't have to confront the fact that they're lazy, not creative, not very clever, and that under a different alternative system of true merit, they might actually be the ones that are left behind. But they won't be left behind. You know why? Because we would take care of them and make sure they can eat. And make sure that when they eat, it's not reconstituted slop like the shit that Serco put in fucking aged care homes. It'd actually be food. Anyway. And what we would do, tech would still run, but it would run well. It would have social workers, people you can talk to. You wouldn't have people scamming because they wouldn't be able to, there's no incentive in place. You wouldn't have all these culture wars grifters because their basic needs are met. They're living happy. They're probably off, Ben Shapiro might be off fucking, doing carpentry. Who the fuck knows? Okay? People might be doing other things. Joe Rogan would be off hunting fucking elk or whatever the fuck he does. What would you be doing when you just had everything sorted? Oh, but someone needs to pay for it. No, that's cool. We just do a collective thing. We trade. It still happens. There's just the profits are not concentrated at the top. The profits are shared and distributed according to need and your contribution. You can still be a millionaire under socialism, by the way. Again, if you provide something that the market values and people want to pay for, you own that labour and there's no pimps. Okay? Go nuts. But you can buy a Tesla. Okay? But the Tesla has to pay the public for the university publicly funded research that they use to produce their technology. Goes back into the public purse. That's all we're talking about. Quid pro quo. No such thing as a free lunch unless you're a capitalist and you got capital. It's a better system. Calm down. And stop quibbling too. Marxist scholars give me the shits too. It's not that complicated. Okay? Think about base and superstructure as base of capitalism. Base, foundations. Your foundations are on profit or people. Okay? Superstructure exists to support the base. If the superstructure is one of capital, then everyone is incentivized towards capitalism and supporting the needs and whims of the fucking of those with capital. Otherwise, the superstructure works to support the base of social benefit. Fucking not hard. Okay? Splitting, it's all just over niching, over siloing. A very simple idea, which is that you feel the way you do for the right reasons. There is nothing wrong with you. You're fine. You just got to make a decision to think it through, think further. Think through 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And decide what world you want for you, and not just for you, but for your kids, for you in your old age particularly, for doctors to do the kind of work that most of us can't bear. Okay, it is incredibly stressful. Even if they were making $1 million and had all the resources, they are still there at the coalface of human suffering day in, day out. And to turn around and say, how dare you claim an extra fucking $30? Fuck you, bureaucrat. How about you and your 120 grand that you're earning to write this shit at the ABC? Go fuck yourselves. Waste of space, journalists. There's a fucking class. Jesus Christ. Talk about serving. There you go. There's your Chomsky. Talk about serving the fucking upper class. The ABC do as well. Don't worry. Ida Buttrose is a fucking neo-lib. Conservative. Okay? It's all Murdoch. It's all the same shit. Just this one's got a fucking woke veneer on it. It's the same shit. Blaming doctors for a systemic fucking problem with a base of profit that is eroded by insurance companies. Premiums go up, coverage goes down. I had to re-qualify for a fucking surgery. I'm in immense pain. I've had to wait another 6 months because they fucked up. We changed companies. They fucked up. We didn't know there were arrears. No one told us. And suddenly I have to wait another year to qualify, even though we've had health insurance for ever. Capitalism, everybody. Right? It's not the fucking doctors. Jesus fucking Christ. It's HR. HR represent everything to me. Fuck those people. You're not doing win-win fucking shit. You're a veneer for people to not realise that they can actually organise if they talk to each other. They don't need you. See, the thing is, corporate HR, we don't need corporate HR. We need unions. And I don't know how anyone thought that a woke corporate HR department was was left wing, because they are literally there to make sure that you don't unionise. Form a union and see how fucking woke corporate HR are. See how woke corporate HR are outside of a fucking pink and blue flag and like a rainbow fucking logo once every 4 weeks the second you start a fucking union. Look at Starbucks. Look at what happened with Starbucks. And they're trying to unionise. Look at that shit. I mean, it's better here, but still. Even when speaking of the ABC, when you go on the ABC and it's like, they will drag them over the coals, the union. Oh, one guy, union corruption. It's like, yeah, someone died at work. Why aren't you focused on this? Why are you focused on us? What the fuck? There's no corruption. We're just like, yes, that happens, but that's a big organisation. But again, that cherry picking. But when you actually look at the facts, how every time, like Sally McManus or whatever, watch next time. Watch her if they're on even the ABC. Watch Sally McManus when she's interviewed on the ABC versus say like a coalition politician or a business leader. Watch how brutal they are towards Sally McManus. Right, she's the head of the ACTU. Right, is it ACTU? Is she the head of the? She's yes. Anyway, yeah. But look at you will see the weapon that is our government broadcaster. They're not independent, okay? They're a weapon to make you think that, corporate HR are your friends. These journalists are your friends. These people that just, go, well, if you're not the fucking customer, you're the product. Well, what are you then? Who's your customer? Journalists. And it's like, okay, that's all. I'm obviously repeating myself. I'm just practicing different ways to say things. But anyway, thanks for joining. I'm going to go. I'm very tired. I don't have an end screen, I'm afraid. I don't think. Oh, yeah, I do. I put a stupid one together. You'll laugh when I go. It's pretty funny. So it's not bad, but I'll design a new one. But I'm going to try and I'll stream on. I'm definitely going to be back on Friday this week. I've dropped uni. I'm not training to be a psychologist. That's part of the problem. Not doing it anymore. Sorry about the bad light and the fucking whatever. I've still got to fix all the things and my skin looks like shit. All those things. Anyway, love you. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your precious life seconds. Become a patron if you can. I deeply appreciate it. But, if you become a patron, I can put more brain time. This is just me brain fighting. I have no notes or anything. But, obviously the more resourced I am, the better the work gets. It's just one of those chicken and egg problems, right? But anyway, thank you. If you are a patron, thank you. If you're not, that's cool too. Just share my shit, support me, give me praise. You'd be amazed how much just someone saying that what I say resonates with them makes a difference to my motivation as well, right? When you're up against sort of these forces and the algorithm and fucking nobody wants to talk to you because you won't take a side and, you won't sort of push any particular narrative. It does become, and also, my tendency to sort of orient towards boring shit like explaining base and superstructure. I'm trying to figure out ways to explain it in a way that is interesting because it is really interesting stuff. It's just that it gets lost in sort of boring shit. But I'll get there. I'm the last remaining human-centered designer. I'll keep trying to get there until I can reach you. But anyway, I love you. Take care. I appreciate it. Love your shit. Read my shit. Do my shit. It's all shit. But it's great. Okay. Bye. Where am I? Fucking, I gotta fix this shit. Bye.